702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7.
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Good morning, it's 6 minutes past 9. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela show. My name is Tshidi Madia. Clement Madimecha, as some of you call him, will be safe and sound and behind the microphone with you tomorrow. The long weekend is around the corner. Are you excited? Are you preparing for a long trip? Will you be around? Is it time for you to take in the religious holidays, the different events that are happening, that are unfolding, that are being observed during that time? My favorite thing about this period, and I don't care who judges me, it's just my reality, is that Gauteng, which is home, so people like us who are living here, who are from here, my favorite thing is that it's emptying. I love it when these periods come along and everybody goes away, goes back to their homes, goes on holidays, and leaves Gauteng quiet and empty, and the roads are lovely, and you're not fighting for spots in the restaurants. I really, really like that. Did you also catch Mcebisi Jonas's interview? He was on with our Stephen Crotus last night. I think it's an exclusive with Stephen on the Money Show. He's, of course, our new special envoy to the US. He was on 702 last night speaking to Stephen. I think when I listened to Mcebisi Jonas, and you can catch that on primemediaplus.com. I really think that he means well. He's hoping that the US can look past comments he made in his private capacity as an activist, and a long time ago. I mean, that was 5 years ago. And he speaks about, bearing the hatchet in essence. I think that unless he's going to the US with a deal in mind, I don't know if it's going to work, because, when you speak about people moving on, you speak about a particular caliber of person or people. I don't think that Donald Trump has that ability. Yes, when it suits him and if it serves him. Again, people think about the Secretary of State in the U.S., Marco Rubio. They speak about his deputy, J.D. Vance. But I feel like those rules, and I said this yesterday, don't apply to the rest of us. I think when it comes to petty, he's right there with the best. And so I don't know about him moving on. I strongly feel that unless Mcebisi Jonas goes with a deal in hand, a package he must forget. Alibale, that's what I think, What is your take? I wonder, following his own thoughts about the way forward. I'll play you a little bit of what he said to Stephen Crotus last night, just to hear what you think, and what he understands of the mission and what he's meant to do to deal with the very frosty relations between South Africa and the US. Also coming up,
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Yeah, I do want to get your thoughts on Mcebisi Jonas. I'm still very much processing that appointment. I think it's an important one at a crucial time. If you listen to all the key stakeholders, our relationship with the US does matter. No matter how you feel, the facts on paper are, this is one of our largest trading partners. We have a sluggish economy. We complain about the lack of job creation, that in order to get us out of where we are at the moment, you've got to try and retain as many good relations as possible. You've got to try and get the most out of the relationships that you have with as many people as possible. We are still, as I said, processing the news coming from the union buildings, where President Ramaphosa appointed businessman. Yes, I know some of you disagree with that labeling, but that is who he is understood to be. Former politician and activist Mcebisi Jonas, as the special envoy to the US, he is tasked with attempting to mend relations between South Africa and the US. He has stressed the importance, like I said, of the relationship between the two countries. And of course, he did not shy away when Stephen asked him about the questions around the comments he made when he was speaking at the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation back in 2020. I want you to take a quick listen to what Mcebisi Jonas had to say.
All the people you're going to see now in the US, they all come from one party, and they all come from a party that supports the President Donald Trump. And back in 2020, you delivered the Ahmed Kathrada Memorial Lecture in that year. You described Trump as a racist homophobe, as a narcissistic right-winger. Now you have to deal with the Trump administration. Can you still deal with that?
I guess, I must put that in context, because, at the time, I was outside of government. At the time, I was speaking as an activist. And I think these things happen. I mean, people move on. I mean, and confront the challenges of the time. I mean, I'm sure if you Google any politician has said something nasty about one other politician or the other. But the reality of the matter is that the challenge that we all face and the task at hand, it is to work on the relations between the two countries. And I think, I mean, firstly, I'm committed to doing that. But secondly, I think I've got the backing of government initially, but also of South Africans in general.
It's a tricky one. I mean, there are plenty of American politicians who now work with Trump who've said pretty bad things about him, and they've all had to sort of beg forgiveness or had to pledge allegiance or something. I'm no expert on American politics. It seems to me that they've done that. I mean, it seems to me he's looking for reasons to pick a fight with South Africa.
I wouldn't. I guess, I mean, let's accept that, I mean, our relations, the nature of sort of relations and the souring predates the Trump administration. Because I think we must not make the mistake that most of the problems we have started suddenly with the Trump administrations. Most of the issues, whether are issues of trade, whether they are kind of economic relations issues, or whether to overlay that geopolitical issues, all of these issues predate the current administration in the U.S. So in a sense, therefore, I think it has been something that South Africa has been engaged with for quite some time. And my task is to kind of understand what grounds have been covered, what has not been covered, what are the blockages, and also to understand the thinking from the other side so that we can frame our responses appropriately to deal with the challenges, so to speak. I mean, we believe, and I'm a believer, that the world is for all of us, and we must find commonalities and areas where we could work and strengthen the commonalities to achieve a greater good. And I think it's possible to do that.
What do you think? That's the voice there of Mcebisi Jonas. Abel says you could confuse it at a whim to that of Advocate Dalimpofu. But it's Mcebisi Jonas speaking to our colleague Stephen Grooters on the Money Show last night. For more of that interview, you can go to primemediaplus.com. I want to tell you what I think, you know, and I said it earlier. I do think that Mcebisi Jonas means well. I think he has a great appreciation of the dilemma, that we actually are in a quagmire. But I think none of this will mean anything if he makes his way to the US without a cap in hand, armed with a proposal, or as they keep telling us, with a package. How many times has Donald Trump spoken of the need for a package? He's very clear. And we understand that the man in the White House, who, whether you like it or not, was democratically elected, is very much a transactional being who wants to cut deals, nothing but deals. What are your thoughts? 011-883-0702. You can call in and share those, or you can call on, let me do that again. 011-883-0702 to call in, or 072-702-1702 for WhatsApps and voice notes. The other thing about Mcebisi Jonas' appointment, which is quite curious for me, is, and I said this yesterday, that the Ahmed Kathrada comments were apparently known to people in government. I actually also mentioned the issue of MTN's intersection with Iran and Mcebisi Jonas. And mind you, from my understanding now, that did it did catch the curiosity of some of the Americans when they first heard, even before the Kathrada comments, they're like, MTN, interesting, Iran, interesting. So it'll be very interesting to see how that part goes down. Of course, then there's the Kathrada comments that he's now said that he believes that people move on, that he was speaking in his private capacity. What I also understood is this is a job that he did want. This is a mission he wanted. I've been getting it from a lot of authorities that this is something that he lobbied for. And part of the question that we were asking is, but what did government not know? Again, I'm here to say, from my understanding, they were aware. And some keep making an argument that by J.D. Vance, but hey, Marco Rubio. And I keep saying the rules are not the same. They will not apply rules to themselves as Americans, to the rest of us outside of the United States. But again, for me, my biggest thing is they will not treat us, right, like they treat themselves. They will not be as forgiving. And it might not even be about what Mcebisi Jonas said or did not say. No, they're looking for an offer of something. They feel they've done so much for the world. And Donald Trump says it over and over again, They're looking to get something out of all the countries. Everybody else want something to be offered, to put on the table. Even his G20 appearance, his arrival, his participation at the end of the year, I believe, will be down to what do we offer them in order for that to happen. Listen to some of your voice notes.
Good morning, Tshidi. Mcebisi Jonas' tone, for me, well, maybe he sounds like he's speaking with a smile. But I don't think that will really convince. The very same thing to me. It sounds cold. And I wonder if it will convince Donald Trump. Donald Trump being what he is, that type of animal he is. I wonder, I really don't think he will convince Donald Trump, even if he was going to be speaking from a clean slate, not with the background that he has of having spoken. And I don't see what was the reason. What was pushing him to have said such things? Some people, sometimes when they talk and such things, they drop in bombs when it is not even necessary. And to me, he's not going to convince Donald Trump. Eden from Marshalltown.
Today, Tato here. Tshidi, we're dealing with a petulant, vindictful, vengeful man-child who runs his government via tweets half the time. He tweets something and his team have to rally behind him to align the tweet with either government policy or with some sort of reality. There is no way he's not aware by now, between him and Elon Musk, of what Tshidi Jonas has said already. So for me, don't send him in. And we can't argue that because half of his cabinet spoke smack about him on the campaign trail, therefore Tshidi Jonas can get away with this. The duck is dead. Need to regroup and send someone else in. Already Trump is probably thinking, they're sending a Jonas brother, but this one can't sing and he hates me. I told you about South Africa.
Did you say they're sending in a Jonas brother? That's a little bit funny, Tato. But I agree with you. I think it'd be very difficult. And because this is something that he actually sought in terms of Mcebisi Jonas, from my understanding, a lot of people are now going easy fit for purpose because there's now controversy. You also don't want that. You want somebody who's beyond reproach because you are dealing with quite a petulant a leader. And even if he's not going to go directly to the White House, he's going to go up by other means to get there. The person who's meant to deliver the message will also matter, unfortunately. The messenger matters. So there have been lots of back and forth about whether or not he's also the right person. That conversation is also intensifying if you pay attention. I had somebody saying that do we not need perhaps a former president? We've got 3 former presidents who are still around. We've got former President Thabo Mbeki, former President Jacob Zuma, former President Clement Manyathela. So some are suggesting that maybe somebody of that stature, where Trump would feel like, oh, South Africa's taking this matter very seriously. So there's that suggestion. There's a suggestion that maybe somebody like Tokyo Sexwale, because they view him as a transactional being. He's also a businessman. But remember, when the apprentice came to South Africa, Tokyo Sexwale presented the apprentice. And if the US president is such a narcissist, one wonders whether or not that will tickle his fancy and make things a little bit better for us. I don't know. This is an unconventional president who's not following the rules. Convention, diplomacy, those things don't matter. I've heard suggestions about Oyama Mabandla maybe being better, or somebody even like Derek Hanekom. Of course, that's an argument that could also be made based on the fact that they seem to want people who look a particular way. That's why now the conversation even about an ambassador, if you're paying attention, goes, should it be a white Afrikaner male? Should it not? That's where we are, unfortunately, in the conversation about our relationship with the US. I see all your calls. I'm coming to you now. Fernando in Germiston, let me start with you. Good morning.
Indeed, lekker show. Here's my take. I think it's an excellent appointment to have Mr. Jonas. I think his stand against corruption and state capture will stand him in good stead with the Americans who take it dimly on corruption. I think Donald Trump is thick, but he's also thick-skinned, and I think he understands and knows that people criticize him, And I think Mcebisi Jonas knows exactly what is at stake, very unlike Mr. Rasool, who was very pro-Palestinian and had leanings towards Hamas, who the Americans don't take too lightly. I think Mcebisi Jonas knows exactly what at stake. Absolutely fantastic appointment.
All right, Fernando, you must remember this country's government is very pro the people of Palestine and their cause as well. While Mcebisi Jonas would not be removed from that. I mean, then you must speak about how Hamas is where it is. Then you must speak about why Hamas is the role it plays in Palestine. How did that come about? And whether or not the government can ignore people.
October the 7th means everything. Hamas is a known terrorist organization. Mcebisi Jonas stood in face of corruption. That's what I'm getting to. Excellent appointment.
Okay,
the Americans take a tick off against people who are against corruption.
As if they're beyond corruption, particularly this leader, Fernando, but thank you. I'll take that. Imagine saying that Donald Trump, a convicted felon, is above and beyond corruption, please. I don't necessarily accept that. But I also think that when it comes to Hamas and this country's stance, or at least Palestine, let me focus on Palestine, the Palestinian people. Mcebisi Jonas is also from the ANC. Don't remove him from his political party. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but don't do that. Don't create exceptions and a narrative that simply isn't reality. Labachang and Bryanston, hi.
Hi, Tshidi. I just want to say that I think we're just giving this thing so much attention unnecessarily. All that Trump and Elon Musk is Starlink and to get the minerals for their batteries. So that's all we need to give them. If we don't gonna give them, they're not gonna go away, and we're just gonna be on our own. But I also think that this is just so much attention on this thing when there's so many other issues in South Africa with violence and people getting killed, getting hijacked, and women getting killed. I really think we should focus on that rather than focusing on Trump every day.
All right, Labachang, simply put, we know what they want. We should focus on that. Thank you so much. That's Labachang out in Bryanston. Obed in Winchester, hi.
How are you?
Good, Obed, how are you?
I'm okay, thanks. I think the lady who just spoke now touched a little bit on what I want to say. And I agree with you, Tshidi, when you say that Donald Trump is a transactional being, and that is 100%. It's not into talking. It's all about what are you bringing on the table. Yes, Jonas is a good appointment, I believe, and I understand. But if he goes to the U.S. empty-handed, he's going to come back empty-handed. So here's the deal. We are dealing with two people here, Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Now, we need to start first with Elon Musk. Give him Starlink. I'm saying this because I follow Elon Musk on Twitter. The way he mourned and cried about Starlink, the way he was rejected in South Africa, he is really pained. And well, most of the things Donald Trump is doing is engineered by Elon Musk. And why am I saying that? Because Donald Trump doesn't know what's happening in South Africa. To show you that somebody is telling him things he doesn't even know about.
They've got enough intelligence, Obed. They've got sufficient intelligence, world-class intelligence, to know what is actually happening in the country. They're opting. That's why I keep calling this thing disinformation. It's not a mistake. It's very deliberate. My quick question for you, though, Obed, sorry to cut in. The issue of Starlink, you say that what we know what we need to do, just give Elon Starlink. But what of the country's own policies? What kind of country caves in and just gives somebody what they want? How will we look at our own government?
Okay, you see now, we want to mend the relationship with America. You got to give something. If we are not willing to give anything, it's not going to happen. Because for Donald Trump, it's not about talk. It's about deal. And if we're not willing to make a deal, Mcebisi Jonas rather, sit back at home. There's no need going there. I can tell you that for free. All right.
Thank you so much. That's Obed out in Winchester. You've got to come with something in hand. I do also believe that he can't go there empty-handed. You can't go there on a fact-finding mission to go explain disinformation. They know what the truth is. I firmly believe they know. I don't buy the story that they are being fed by AfriForum, that these fringe groups in South Africa are actually impactful. They are just a necessary tool in a different campaign to get what they want out of the country. Sister out in Houghton, hello.
Hey, Tshidi, how are you?
Very good, thank you. What's on your mind?
Tshidi, just listening to your two callers. I think, for them to even think that you just have to go there and give Starlink and then everything will be fine. It's a bit, I don't even know how to say it, because firstly, if that was the case, Donald Trump could have just said that in the beginning. This is what I want. South Africa, give me that. And also, we can't really dismiss the policies of this country just to satisfy one man. What happens tomorrow when Donald Trump decides again, I want this, otherwise I'm taking this away from you, South Africans? What are we going to do?
Sister, think about Russia. Think about Russia.
Yeah, exactly.
There's an interesting thing unfolding around Russia. The G7 countries are stuck. They can't put out a statement condemning Russia. Why? Because the US blocked it. Why is the US blocking the condemnation of Russia suddenly? And where would we be with the same country that has been berated over handling of the Russia-Ukraine conflict? And then you turn around and America is now posturing in a different direction. And then we have egg on our faces.
Yeah, and another thing, one caller said, talking about this topic every day, it's wasting time. If she understood how many people have lost their jobs just because of this Donald Trump stunt, she would not speak. I think people are speaking because they're sitting in a comfortable position. They're not understanding that this stupid stunt that Donald Trump is doing is causing a lot of headache and drama to other people. I think we need to go there. As they say, yes, we need to sit at the table and speak. But also, I don't think the person we are sending really is the right person, because what's his name? Mcebisi Jonas was right there during the state capture. And instead of him standing out and speaking out, what did he do? He decided to resign and wrote a book about it. You know what I mean? So I don't think Umar Ramaphosa, he has his senses. I think he's just going around doing what he thinks is best, but it's not best for this country. So
but you're unfair to Mcebisi.
I am telling. I mean, this is my opinion today. I think he didn't do much. For me, I felt. I mean, I think even when we went for his book review, I asked him the same question. What did you do at that time? He said, no, it was hard for everyone to act. But really, some people acted and some people lost their jobs. So he didn't want to lose his comfort zone, and he opted on moving away. So that's how I feel. And I also, as I said, I don't think he's the right person to go there. For him to say, I said this 5 years ago when I was an activist, makes no difference.
Okay,
and the one thing is, we'll be lucky if he makes it right in America. Okay, that's sister. The first thing.
Thank you, Sister in Houghton. I love when I say, don't say he didn't do anything. So that's my opinion, okay? So I'll accept your opinion, but I do think that he tried to tell people within his own political party what is going on. Was that sufficient? No. I mean, if you revisit the state capture conversations, even President Ramaphosa, I remember him testifying, going to the commission, and he was saying, like, he had options. Do you leave? Do you fight from within? And I also don't know if I felt satisfied with how they navigated, some of them, that particular period. And I don't even know if it's fully behind us as it is. Someone on Twitter says, Jabu Nicholas Gianna says, people keep on saying that Elon Musk's Starlink was rejected, but Ikasa said there's no application that was submitted to them. So he is demanding and crying for Starlink, on social media. And we must bow to that. Hi guys, please man. It's 9:30. Here is Fiso with your news headline.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
It's 9:35. You're listening to the Clement Manyathela show. Tshidi Madia in for Clement Manyathela. I want you to also think, as we're having this open line and we're discussing various issues, I want you to also think about the Eastern Cape. So today, President Cyril Ramaphosa is back in the Eastern Cape. He's there for a cabinet oversight of the province. He's actually been doing quite a few of these. Think about, I think is it last month, he was in Gauteng, where people complaining about the state of Joburg. He met with the city, met with the province. So they're doing the same thing. I think they've also done it possibly in Mpumalanga, and if I'm correct, maybe Limpopo. So they're actually doing quite a few of these, checking on service delivery across the different metros, municipalities and provinces. But I found a story that I heard in the Eyewitness News bulletins really curious. So Alpha Ramushwana is in the Eastern Cape on behalf of EWN. He spoke of a bridge that was damaged by the rains, the floods. He went to an area called Kwanobuhle in the Eastern Cape, and he said that residents there were growing quite angry. They're angry every day, increasingly angry, over delays in repairing a collapsed bridge. So that bridge is called the Matanzima Bridge. It's in at Nelson Mandela Bay municipality. It collapsed in June last year due to heavy rainfall and soil erosion. What's interesting for me about the story is 89 million rand was set aside to reconstruct the bridge. 2 contractors were appointed for this job. And what residents have told Alpha is that though there was a 6-month timeline to fix the bridge, what they saw happening was a few days before the president visited, because he went to visit the site last year, repairs were happening. Suddenly repairs are being done on the bridge just a few days before the president is due to visit. The president goes to the bridge, speaks about the importance of getting the work done. The president leaves, and shortly after his departure, the repairs stop. So the community continues struggling with the bridge that's not working. Taxi drivers complain that their tires are constantly being damaged because they have to find alternative ways to get around that area, because that bridge is the only connection between that particular township, right, Kwanobutle, and the city in Kabeja. So this bridge has collapsed, millions were spent, but the only time there was a semblance of activity was when the president was expected to arrive. It took me back to when I went to Alice in the Eastern Cape, unfortunately as well, where they were marking 100 years of the Fort Hare University, the centenary. And I went to a little house where Professor Z.K. Matthews sat once, penning what would become parts and pieces, the ingredients, if you may, of what we held today as our Freedom Charter. That little house has a plaque on it. There's a recognition that it is a heritage site. It was completely dilapidated. At the time, they were about to start fixing it. I was there the whole week. They started fixing it midweek because former then President Jacob Zuma was going to be in Alice to mark 100 years of Fort Hare, and that would also mean visiting this house where Professor Z.K. Matthews lived. And I thought to myself, what is this? What is it that forces officials, authorities, if you may, governments to want to do the work, to put on a show, but not to actually do the work? Think about the G20 foreign ministers meeting. That happened now in February. We complain about traffic lights in Joburg all the time, the state of the roads, the fact that they don't cut the grass. And woke up one morning, it was a Thursday, I'll never forget. Greyston traffic lights suddenly working. They hadn't worked for 2 years. And they're working because there was a high-level delegation in the country of foreign ministers from around the world. It wasn't about us. No. It was about putting on a show for the high-level delegation. It's fixing the bridge so that the president can see work is being done. As soon as he turns around and he leaves, that work, the spades, the shovels all get put down. I don't understand that. And I'm trying to figure out, how do you deal with that as community members? Because you can make an argument that, no, you must vote these people out. That's fantastic. But we vote only once in a while. What do we do in between? Do you engage in your community? Do you know your councillor? Where do you go? What are the avenues that you turn to when you try and manage this? How do you hold your councillors, your government accountable? Because it's not right in my head that this bridge, where 89 million has been set aside to reconstruct, should take only 6 months to fix. It's not taking so long. I don't get it. 011-883-0702, 072-702-1702. And of course, we're also chatting about Mcebisi Jonas' appointment as the special envoy to the US.
Good morning, Tshidi. I don't think there's anything that South Africa can do to appease Donald Trump. This man has reached a point of no return about South Africa. So he's on a high horse. And I think as a country, we must just cut our losses and move on. We are part of BRICS Plus. So I don't think we need America that much. Thank you very much, Peter Maila Machaba from Letswaro.
Hi, 702. With regards to this Mcebisi Jonas appointment, I think we're being silly. Unfortunately, we're dealing with a very stubborn and obstinate government in the Trump administration. And we should just, whether we like it or not, we need them more than they need us. And we should just play by the rules that they want. And everyone said that, Tony Leon would have been the best person for the job. But we seem to be, more interested in getting a black person there than getting anyone else there. And it's going to shoot us in the foot, We should just do what we need to do to get things going and get things right so that our country can prosper. Like I said, whether we like it or not, we need America for us to prosper a little bit. I'm not saying they're the only ones. But let's do what we need to do for the sake of the country. Let's send Tony Leon, let him fix the problems. Hopefully he can. And if they're going to look favorably to him, let's do that, please. Thank you. Sanjay.
Very good morning, 702 Landers and Tshidi. In the words of the former president Nelson Mandela, a man who changes his principles based on whom he is dealing with can never be a leader. Mr. Mcebisi Jonas said what he said. That is what he felt, and that is what he concluded. Why does he change his stance now? Yes, it was said in his personal capacity, but why does it change now if that's how he felt about Donald Trump back then? He shouldn't be justifying it. If anything has changed, he should then say he's changed his stance, not justifying what he said. Thank you. Sbu here in Rustenburg.
Thank you so much for that, Sbu. Big questions about, leadership. And that's the question. There's an interesting WhatsApp here that says, read to understand the trade states, Tshidi. America is exploitative, and now, as predicted, they have a mama's boy in charge. We need to eat or be eaten. It's now or never. Simple as that for some people. And that's how, you read it. It just also dawned on me, and I want to put this out there as well. It just dawned on me that whatever we think we went through with Ruben Bridgetty, and we were upset over the Lady R saga, I think that will be a walk in the park. Okay? I strongly feel now that that'll be a walk in the park compared to what it might be this time around with Leo Brent Bozal. I think what's coming around the corner feels a little bit scarier than what we dealt with. Our feelings, if they were heightened during Lady R, I don't know. I think we'll all need to maybe go to therapy, because those tensions, I think, are going to only get worse if we don't give them what they want, because that's the threat that we keep getting. In fact, I won't be surprised, by the way, if they try and fast track Bozell's appointment, if he's here just in time for G20. I said earlier, I don't believe, unless we give a package, we do an offer, that Donald Trump will actually be in South Africa. They all want to show him these magnificent golf courses. And nada. I don't see that happening unless we are prepared to make a deal. The US is very clear. So I also wonder if he had to go, about the kind of reception he would receive. Kaelo in Joburg, hi. I think I've lost Kaelo. Lesego from Bryanston, good morning.
Good morning, Tshidi. Hope you're good. I'm just baffled by the number of calls that come through. Mcebisi Jonas we must put, this is a special envoy. It's got nothing to do with the ambassadorship that is being proposed. It's people that will possibly go to the States who are going to lobby their friends or business partners or the economic world that side to speak on our behalf. So it's got nothing to do. If we were to handpick a white person here, a black person here, at this point, John Steenhuisen also said bad things about Trump. So no one will qualify, because we've all said bad things about Trump. But at this current moment, we need a team that's going to go there, lobby on behalf of South Africa, irrespective of what their beliefs are. They're going to lobby there and try and get a deal for South Africa and trying to align. So people need to get it. And don't forget, you're dealing with someone who said he's the best deal maker, who's Donald Trump.
No, your line, Lesego, is starting to be a little bit choppy. Let's try that again.
No, I'm saying we mustn't forget. The person.
Sorry, Lesego's line is not too great, but I think he's made his point very clear that it's not about dealing with government. It's about trying to lobby the different people to try to get to the White House, in essence, to try and influence our relationship, and that there'll be different envoys. The president said as much earlier in the year, that there'll be different envoys to send a communication. I just don't believe that fact-finding is part and parcel of what we ought to do at this point in time. Here's some more of your voice notes.
Hi, good morning, Tshidi. Amos from Randbeck. The issue about people moving when they know the president is coming is a culture issue. If you look around, you'll see it in most communities. They only move when there's people coming over. Some houses are almost collapsing. They get fixed only when there's a funeral and people will be coming over, just to try and save face. But that issue of them moving when somebody senior is coming around might actually work. The government should just have inspectors who go around and check these places. Maybe people will move then.
Hi, Tshidi. Yes, Tshidi. Yeah, it's Isaac from Orange Farm. I think I did a lot about the road that is a river, that it got, not a pothole, it got holes. yeah, in Orange Farm, and then nothing is happening. I did report it to the councillor. I did do everything. Nothing is happening. Nothing. That road is bad. I can send you a picture of it. I did send it to you long ago. That road is bad. It's bad, Tshidi.
Hi, Tshidi. It's Mcebisi in Joburg. For a president who's constantly surprised about everything, including the fact that the city he lives in is in shambles, I wouldn't be surprised that he probably doesn't even watch the news or know what's happening in the country, because all the things you've just described about work happening because there's an important delegation that is coming, and there has to be song and dance because of that important delegation. I feel like he and leaders like that are the problem. The problem being that we have to do a song and dance for them as opposed to them being in service of the people. And that's the problem. That is precisely the problem, that the bridge isn't about the people. Fixing things isn't about the people. It's about the comfort of the leaders we elect. It's Mcebisi.
Thank you so much. That's a very big problem, Mcebisi. Putting on a show, a song and dance for the leaders. I don't think, by the way, that the president is unaware. I don't buy that argument that he's unaware of what's happening in the news. A lot of people in his office, even sometimes when I call looking for comments, they're like, "Oh, but you were just saying this on the radio. Why are you asking us when you are so sure of ABCDE?" So I do know that they monitor. They're very mindful of the things we say. I've had run-ins with the premier in this province over comments I've made on this station. So I do know that they tune in. There's a WhatsApp on the WhatsApp line. The president owns a house in Hyde Park, so fixing the streets of Sandton because he's coming can't be correct. If anything, it implies that he's part of the problem. Yeah, what's that saying? The fish rots from the head up. The president, that's why I remember the time where he was pictured in the Joburg CBD, and there was a back and forth about why he was there. And I think there was an explanation that the premier tried to give that we were all like, yeah. But I think I now understand what it was, how he ended up in the Joburg CBD late at night. And for me, though, I was like, you can't be surprised about what it looks like. Lutuli House. Your political party is in the heart of the Joburg CBD. So the rot that we all see when we go into the CBD, and I'm in the CBD pretty much every day. I drive on Joe Slovo every day. You see that. I even see the improvements when on Joe Slovo. I mean, now the traffic lights are working and I'm able to say, oh, look, that's interesting. So absolutely, I take that point. I'm going to take a quick break. Kustas in Midrand, I see you. I'm coming back to you after this.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
9:53, the Clement Manyathela show. Tshidi Madia in for Clement. I see Floyd on Twitter. Amu Floyd has actually posted an interesting article. It's a front page of the Herald. We are obviously discussing the idea of having officials, first of all, fixing things at the last minute when they're expecting high-level delegates, expecting the president to come along. And, of course, we're speaking about Mcebisi Jonas, the special envoy to the US. And Amu Floyd just posted a front page of the Herald, and it says, "Welcome to our broken city, Mr. President." And what you see are traffic lights falling over, rubbish, dilapidated buildings, roads that aren't working. And that's the thing. That's the thing. That's what he goes back to. He is, of course, on a cabinet oversight in the Eastern Cape, focusing, funny enough, on service delivery. And that's a core issue for a lot of people. Kustas, you want to chat about Mcebisi Jonas. Hi.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with Mr. Jonas. However, in order for him to succeed, you have to lay a ground for him to succeed. I do not know why the South African government is not reaching out to the Israelis. Because the Israelis, it was Netanyahu who went to Washington that all of a sudden changed. Donald Trump wasn't talking about South Africa at all until Netanyahu went there. You see, so the Israelis are absolutely unhappy with South Africa's stance at ICJ. So if that's the case, a diplomatic solution must be found with the matter of this case and what is going on in the Middle East. So in other words, I do not know why we're not engaging them to make sure that we turn things around in Israel, okay, not in Israel per se, but for the Palestinians. In turn, you withdraw the case and the negotiations continue. The Americans, I can tell you, Netanyahu is going to make one call. Donald Trump is not going to even worry about the Afrikaners in South Africa because they're just a pawn.
No, he doesn't care about them. He's not interested in that.
He doesn't care about them, yes. So the key issue here, in order for this to succeed, Derko should have reached by the Israelis by now. Let's just say they want to send him next month. This month, they should have reached to the Israelis for negotiations. The Israelis are going to call the Americans and say, hey, South Africans want to talk. And when he gets to land in Washington, because he's not going to government alone, when he lands in Washington, the ground is already fertile for him to say, let's hear what you have to say.
To start trying to lobby. But Kustas, how does South Africa speak to Israel when a process started by South Africa has him being declared a war criminal? There's a warrant of arrest. Where are the talks there? Because I think that's part of the problem, and you're right. And I want you to be very brief. I do know that every time he goes to the US, South Africa becomes an issue. I do pick up on that too.
Yes. Put it this way, there is no a solution that cannot be found in a diplomatic affairs when I say it.
Okay.
The Israelis, what makes them unhappy? What makes the South Africans unhappy? The South Africans are saying, don't bomb what there. Okay,
yes.
Great. Israel comes to the table and said, okay, fine then. What is the solution? We keep this area here safe. Thank you very much. Do you withdraw your case? Yes, we pull it back. We go to court. We're going to find a solution outside of this matter. Diplomatic relations. Everybody gets to win. Right?
Kustas, I don't know.
Win,
all right.
South Africa win and Palestinians win.
All right, Kustas and Midrand, I don't know. I don't know if South Africans want to see their government backtracking on that particular matter as well. But that brings an end to the open line. Thank you so much for your participation, your input, and all your very interesting insights.